What is structural analysis? Structural analysis is a part of the process of structural design. To understand this, we need to understand what does the structural design means. Let's look at an example. A client wants to build a house. He goes to an engineer and discusses the project. His requirements and limitations are budget 300,000, land area 650 square meter, building type double story, 4 bedrooms, value for the money, and so on. A design engineer has to work from here. The designer will try different arrangements of a structure to work out which arrangement would best suit the client. This one, or this one, or this one, and finalizes one arrangement. This arrangement becomes the preliminary design. The purpose of the preliminary design is to work out the dimensions of the structure and its parts. The engineer now has the dimensions of the building. He or she can now use these dimensions to work out the external forces acting on the structure. They are loads due to its intended use of, for example, human weights, car movements, or furniture, including other external loads like wind load, snow load, if it is a snowy area, and so on. Once we know the external loads, it's time to choose the size and material of the structure members like beams, columns, and so on. For example, do you want a column of timber, or steel, or concrete? Normally steel is the strongest, but at the same time expensive. An engineer need to think, can I achieve necessary safety with cheaper material or not? If yes, there is no point of using stronger material whose strength is not necessary at all. For example, to carry a grocery, we don't use timber or metal bags, even though they are very strong than polythene bags. So once we select the material, we now estimate the size of a structural member. Larger the size of structural member, larger the dead load of the structural members, that is the self weight of the member. But also larger members are stronger and can carry more loads. So depending on the load on the structure, you need to select structural member of sufficient strength but not unnecessarily large. We now know that structural members should carry external loads plus self-weight, but at this stage the actual final size of beams and columns and other structural members are not known. So the forces caused by the weight of these parts of the structure cannot be calculated accurately. Hence, the engineer has to make an educated guess about the size of the structural members to calculate loads and forces due to its weight. That's why the design is still preliminary. Having assumed the initial size and weight, the engineer now can calculate all the forces acting on the structure and its parts. Then the structural analysis starts. Structural analysis is the process by which a structural engineer determines the internal forces in each part of the structure, slabs, beams, column, walls, and so on, to decide whether each structure member and the joints between them are strong enough to carry loads within allowable deformations and other constraints like aesthetics, environments, economy, and so on. A structure need to be safe and should not deflect more than its allowable limit and meet all other constraints if any. Analysis of structure will show what loads are to be carried by each member. During this analysis of the preliminary design, some members are likely to be stronger than necessary. They can be reduced in size and weight, resulting in reduced overall dead load in the structure and a more efficient and sustainable structure. Other members may be too weak and will need to be larger and heavier, increasing forces in the structure. It is a trial design process. After the first preliminary design, better estimates can be made of the size of the member and the dead loads they apply to the structure, and a more refined analysis can be done.